Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Jeanette, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. So, a little bit about me. I'm a mom of two kids. My kiddos both had a diagnosis on the autism spectrum. My son was diagnosed a little bit over two with very severe autism, and a lot of diagnoses that go with that, speech apraxia and sensory processing disorder, some other things on the spectrum-ish. And then my daughter was diagnosed with something called PDD-NOS, persuasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. She was about a year and a half, and the doctor that diagnosed her said if she was two, then I would diagnose her with autism, but we don't do autism diagnoses under the age of two. So she had become nonverbal. My son also had become nonverbal. They were both having seizures at the time. So I'm going to go over some things really quick here, just to give a little bit of context for anyone and I don't know why it's not. Brittany, is it recording my screen or do you guys see me? Or are you seeing Brittany's screen? You're seeing me, Leon?
We see you.
Okay, got it. Okay, for some reason I just see Brittany. So, okay. Okay, so on here, I want to go over kind of what we're going to talk about. So autism, um, it's kind of the lowest level of functioning, and then you have Asperger's, which is a little bit higher functioning than, severe autism, right? And autism, there's several different stages of that, like stage three, stage two, stage one now, where before it was just autism. So severe autism, um, and then Asperger's, and then things like ADD, ADHD, OCD, even things like trichotillomania, which is pulling out your eyelashes, your eyebrows, your hair, um, that kind of stuff. It's all kind of on the autism spectrum. So if you see one kiddo that you might have, and oftentimes if you have one kid, a lot of times you'll have another kid with some issues, right? Doesn't mean they're necessarily autistic, but if you have one that's autistic, you might have another one that has OCD or trichotillomania or ADD or ADHD. Um, or it might even be like they just have behavioral issues sometimes, right? And it might be that you find out those are triggered by red dye, let's say, right? There's a really great book out there. It's called Is This Your Child by Dr. Doris Rapp, R-A-P-P. And she talks about very, very delayed food allergies. So if a kid has red dye on one day, he might not have a reaction or she might not have a reaction for 5 or 6 days. So you can even see things delayed out or 3 or 4 days, right? And even in handwriting samples, she did a lot of really great research. I don't think she's with us anymore, but she had some really cool research. So I'm going to go into how did I help my daughter recover from PDD NOS, right? And how have I seen my son make a lot of progress, right? So and how have I seen, I'm not the only parent out there that has seen a child make a lot of progress, a ton of progress. I have friends that their children are no longer diagnosable from severe autism. They're not even on the spectrum at all anymore from being diagnosed with severe autism, right? In fact, I just got an invite in the last few years from a friend of mine, and her son was graduating from high school, not on the spectrum at all anymore. So, and he was severely autistic. So, a lot of them, I'm just going to say kids, and it might be that you have a family member, it might be that you're an educator. I'm just going to refer to them as kids, right? My son is 19. He's no longer a child. He's an adult, but I'm still going to refer to him as my kid because he's my kid. So, um, a lot of these individuals, these kids, um, they're affected by a lot of the same things. And it could be that one is affected by something more than others, right? But a lot of it, it's the same kind of things that lead to an autism or an ADD or an ADHD or, an OCD diagnosis. And when I go over the spectrum, I want to be clear that ADD and ADHD, they're all of these things are on the spectrum. It's that that person has less of some of the different causes that I'm going to go over, right? So if they're higher functioning rather than lower functioning, there's just less causes there. So there's less in the body that they're dealing with. So like maybe less toxins, right? A lot of these kids have a lot of toxins. Maybe like myself, we detox our children, we detox into our firstborn, and they estimate, doctors, they estimate that be to be about 80 to 90% of the mother's toxic buildup will go into your firstborn. So maybe your firstborn self-terminated, right? Maybe you had a stillborn, maybe you miscarried quite a few times before you were able to keep a pregnancy. Um, so that could be one thing that led to that, right? And then maybe you had a child that was severely autistic. So more so, there's more boys on the spectrum than there are girls. And there was some research done, it's quite a while back now. I want to say it was in the early 90s. And they took aborted fetal tissue from a female and then from a male. And they added different toxins. And they added things that were toxic to brain cells. So they added things like red dye, mercury, things like that. And they found that in the boys' fetal tissue, right? In the boys' tissue, the brain tissue, it's actually brain tissue that they took from these aborted babies, aborted fetuses. The boy tissue, it exploded actually like 99% of their brain cells. The girls, it only exploded about 33%. And the reason is that at least this is what the data showed, is that testosterone made it so these neurotoxic agents actually went in and were teasing, right? They would sit there and do this, right? Like if you sit there and do this, if your kid does this to you for a while, you're going to be irritated, right? Just doing this. And after, a day or so, you might lose it, right? You might yell at your kid or this or that, but you're not going to handle this, if you do this, you're not going to handle it for 2 or 3 days, right? Well, estrogen protects women, and testosterone actually makes it worse for males. Now, when babies are born, baby boys have some estrogen from their mother, right? Which protected them a little bit. But as they get to be teenagers, they have less estrogen and they actually have a lot more testosterone. So when you have a teenage boy that starts going through puberty, a lot of times I'll hear mothers say, oh, well, all of a sudden my kid was doing really well and they're just horrible. They're out of control. Their symptoms are so much more worse. Their rage, their anger, their reactions, those types of things are probably due to testosterone making it worse on their brain cells, right? So if you're giving a kid that has a tendency with not being able to handle excitotoxins. And you're going to want to Google that because I'm not going to go over it into a great deal, but it's EXCITO. So excitotoxins, red dye, MSG, natural food flavoring, whatever, natural, whatever, it's probably an excitotoxin. So all of those excitotoxins go in and tease the cells into the point where they actually explode. So these boys and some girls, more boys than girls, are having their brain cells actually explode. And it's due to excitotoxins and their bodies not being able to handle it. So, what are some of the causes of the spectrum disorder, right? Some of the causes are toxicity. So, if I am giving an analogy, I lived in Florida for a while and there's swamps all over the place, right? If you go in to go clean up a swamp, there's going to be alligators. There's alligators everywhere in Florida. In any body of water in Florida, and all of my Floridians can agree with me here, there are alligators, right? Now, there might be a lot of alligators, or there might be a few alligators, and the swamp might be really dirty or semi-dirty. You might be able to see some, parts of the bottom. You might not be able to see any of it, right? Depending on how much stuff is in there in the swamp. So if we think about this with someone's body, an alligator right? Or how dirty the water is in the swamp. I'm going to say it's the amount of toxins, it's the viruses, the pathogens, the parasites, the bacteria, the hormone disruptions, right? The antibiotics, the overuse of antibiotics from constant ear infections, or the overuse of antibiotics in the food, right? The meat that we're eating. It could be the nitrates in the food. It could be mom's perfume, dad's cologne. It could be the hairspray, right? Because we all have to have our hair perfect. It could be our red lipstick. If, we like red lipstick, if we have red lipstick on and we're kissing our kids, that likely has lead in it, right? And that lead is getting through to our children's skin. Anything we put on our bodies will get through, which is why doctors usually recommend when women start to need hormone replacement therapy, you put your cream right here, and in 5 minutes, you can take blood from this wrist and you can find that your hormones are now changed in your bloodstream, right? So this is scientifically proven. We know this. So when we're putting, lotions and potions and all that kind of stuff on, one way to just help the swamp not be such a disgusting, nasty swamp, right? But to be clearer, like let's start to make the water clear. We're going to start to clean the bodies of these individuals out. How do we start cleaning out the water? How do we start cleaning the body, the swamp out, right? One way to stop, the most important way, is to stop making it a swamp. Stop adding to it, right? So I quit playing. I mean, this is forever ago. My dad was a dentist. I'd go to his dental office after preschool, and he would hand me little pellets of mercury to play with. If you've ever been to a dental office and seen what those little pellets are, but it's what your silver amalgam fillings are made out of. They're actually 55.9% mercury, which there's still mercury in all vaccines. All vaccines, even if they say they're thimerosal free, they are not thimerosal free. There is some thimerosal mercury, which is another name for thimerosal in there. Mercury loves fat. Its innate thing is to go too fat, right? That's what it seeks. It's like some women will say, well, if I eat a donut, it goes where? To my hips, right? I'll answer that. So, but to babies, it goes to their brain because there is no blood-brain barrier, which is a tightly group knit of cells. Sorry, I didn't even say that correctly, but it's a tightly knitted group of cells like this, right? And it protects our brains as we get older from toxins. Well, babies don't really have that. It comes along with development. So if we're doing a lot of vaccines, and I'm not pro, I'm not against, I'm actually for people that just do their own research and make their own informed decisions. So that's it. I just think that people should make their own informed decisions with their own children. So but that's one thing where your people are getting a lot of toxins is from vaccines. Another way is all of our body perfumes, colognes, all that kind of stuff, right? So toxins are one of the biggest ways that we need to stop the swamp from becoming really dirty, or the human body. Another thing is cleaning our air in our own home. So if you have a whole bunch of toxins in our medicine cabinet, perfumes, colognes, hairsprays, all of that kind of stuff, get rid of all of it, right? Just throw it away. It's not even worth having it in your house. So laundry detergents, if you're using things like Tide and I don't even know what all the regular ones are. Um, Gain, I don't even know what the rest of them are. But all of those things are really toxic, right? If you're using dryer sheets are one of the most toxic things you can use. So if it's a chemical, if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't be using it in your house. It shouldn't be on your skin. Same thing with your children. So there's all of that. Switch over to natural brands, right? So I'll talk a little bit about doTERRA. They have natural shampoo, natural conditioner, soaps, body washes, lotions, potions. I mean, you can use a lot of the oils that they have there, essential oils, as perfumes. Rose, jasmine's a really nice smell as well. And they have a really good selection of laundry detergents, dishwashing pods, all kinds of stuff that is not toxic. So switch your household over to non-toxic stuff. And then there's also, it's probably hard to see, but it's down here on the floor. I have an air purifier in the different rooms of my house. I have plug-in ones. I have ones that, turn on and you can turn them on all the time. So purify the air in your house. Another thing would be getting a diffuser. Lara, can you hold up a diffuser? I don't have one right here I can hold up. So, if you don't know what a diffuser is something that you can fill it with water. You can have some that just will literally diffuse. Thank you, both of you guys. Lara and Liam both have diffusers there. So a diffuser is just going to diffuse essential oils into the air. There's an oil called Purify. There's also lemon, which are great in cleaning the air of toxins. So oftentimes I use lemon oil because it's so good at cleaning. I use lemon oil in my son's water, in my water, because it actually cleans toxins out. I use it in my whites, in my laundry, because it makes your whites brighter and it cleans them more, right? I also use them in my dishwasher because it cleans it. So I also use Purify because it cleans it. Mold is another thing for anyone that's in a really humid climate, especially like in Florida or Houston, where it's really humid. It's really important to make sure that your house does not have mold in it, especially with a kid on the spectrum in there, because it adds a huge burden onto their body. So, and that's a whole other conversation in and of itself, is mold. And if you guys want that conversation, let me know in our Facebook group or send me a message and we'll do that one at a later date. But lemon oil, 1 or 2 drops in water, once or twice a day is really, really good to do. So everything that I'm going to say about essential oils, if you're dealing with a child, they should be diluted, which means they should come in a little roller bottle like this, right? It's already pre-diluted, or you should be diluting it before you put it on a child. So that being said, I'm going to move forward. There's some oils I wouldn't recommend putting on a child, and I'll kind of go over that. So a lot of our kids on the spectrum, they don't just have toxins, which another 2 more oils to do if you are worried about toxins being a huge issue. Lemon oil naturally will help get rid of petrochemicals, frankincense heavy metals, and cilantro heavy metals. It naturally will help detox them from the body. If you're going to be doing that, you should get on my website. It's called The Natural Cure, and order something called superfood minerals and be taking superfood minerals. So a squirter once a day. You can even put it in a little shot glass with some water in it, but that helps clean the cells out and helps replace the cells with good cellular food when they're pulling out toxins. So, and it's called superfood minerals. So, Lara, if there's questions, will you just make note of them and ask me at the end, unless something is like with what I'm having to say right now. So toxins, those are the 3 oils that I would use for toxins. Again, lemon, cilantro, frankincense. 1 drop of each of them a day is plenty. You can go up from there, but that's a really good level to start at. And if you think someone might be really toxic, then I would start with just lemon. Maybe a week later, add cilantro, maybe just once a week add cilantro, and then add frankincense, and maybe only, frankincense every 2 or 3 days, a drop, right? You can also always just put oils on the bottom of the feet. You can also put it in a little veggie cap. I don't like the taste of cilantro. I think it tastes like a dirty towel. It's gross. Cilantro in general, even if I grow it in my garden, right? So that I put in a veggie cap typically. So, and that's another easy way to do it. But if your child can't swallow a pill, in a roller bottle on the bottom of the feet, or put it on the bottom of the feet with something like a fractionated coconut oil, which you can order from doTERRA. Another thing that is oftentimes an issue is a healthy gut. So a lot of times people on the spectrum have an overgrowth of fungus, bacteria, and then a lot of other things, which I won't even go into. But one thing that's really good to help with a gut function is lavender oil. Lavender oil is a natural antihistamine, and a lot of these kids, adults, have histamine reactions, like too strong of histamine reactions. So lavender oil is an antihistamine. It also has antibacterial properties to it. Tea tree oil has antifungal properties. So if your kid is eating something and they're really bloated, or if you eat something and you're bloated and gassy after, it's probably a fungal issue, right? I don't know if anyone's ever made bread and watched the bread rise after you add yeast and sugar, but that's kind of the same premises, right? So um, tea tree oil is a natural, um, it just helps with a lot of fungus, a lot of yeast issues. Lavender, um, with bacteria issues. Frankincense naturally has an anti-inflammatory effect, so it's going to bring down inflammation. So frankincense is one that I use every day on the back of my son's spine and on his stomach. So they did a study, gosh, what's his name? Dr. He's here. I'm in Orange County, California, and his office is here, and I'm forgetting his name right now. Anyway, yep, Eamon, thank you, Amber. Director Eamon, he has done a lot of SPEC scans, and a SPEC scan is like a 3D MRI, and specifically on a lot of people with autism, and their brains, depending on how far on the spectrum they are, they're they're like Swiss cheese. They're like somebody that has Alzheimer's. In fact, statistically speaking, parents with kids on the spectrum have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's or dementia. So one way, and they have really, really high inflammation in the brain. I don't remember how many thousands of people, but it was like 30,000 people that they did a spec scan with the Amen clinics, or the Amen clinic. They did a spec scans on so many different people and realized these people that are on the spectrum have really high brain inflammation, right? In order to help the brain inflammation come down, frankincense helps with inflammation. It helps with brain inflammation. So the back of the neck is a really good place to put that. Now, if you have a kid, I highly recommend getting, a roller bottle of it, or you can get a bottle like this and then just put it in a roller bottle as well and dilute it. So this is also a really great one because then you can take it underneath the tongue too. Um, that is going to help bring down inflammation. I would also recommend an oil called copaiba, Copiba, copaiba, and rose oil. And those I also put down the back of the spine because they bring down inflammation. And these are oils I also rub on the stomach. So a lot of people with autism have gut issues, right? And you might be thinking, oh, my kid with ADD has gut issues, right? And these are all getting down to like the root causes rather than I'm not really even addressing a lot of the symptoms. I'm addressing root causes. So I should have probably started with that anyway. But it will help address the root cause. If you do some of these things for 60, 90 days, and sometimes it's going to take a year or 2 years or 3 years. I've noticed over the past 10 years of doing essential oils with my son and a lot of other things, he's made progress, right? Some kids are very slow responders or no responders. But I would say they're slow responders. And some people make a lot of progress really quick. My daughter made a lot of progress really quick. My son has made very, very slow progress. And it's been painfully slow to watch compared to my daughter, right? They were so opposite into how they responded to different things. So, another thing I would use is good probiotics. I like to switch mine up. So, doTERRA has a few different probiotics. One of them is like this. It's called the PB Assist. Um, but this, if you have a kid under like 2 or 3, I would take half of it in the morning and half of it at night with food, typically breakfast and dinner. If they're older, I'd take one twice a day. That's what I take. They also have PB Assist or PB Restore in a capsule, one twice a day with food. If you are seeing that your kid has digestive issues, meaning like you're looking at their stool in the toilet, you're looking at their poop in their diapers, and you're seeing like none of the like you see chunks of something, you're like, well, that's a carrot. Oh, that's like, their potatoes they had or whatever, their rice or whatever it is. They're gonna need a digestive enzyme. So I recommend Terrazyme is what I recommend for that. So this is a really, really good one that will help with that. If your child can swallow capsules, Terrazyme's a great one. You can also just open it up and put it in whatever they're eating. Um, I know we're running out of time here. So the last few things I want to go over with our sleep. Sleep is a huge, huge, huge issue. The um, the superfood minerals, if you do a squirter of that at night, it will help with sleep. You can also do Serenity oil in a diffuser, and you can also take it. They're little tiny capsules, and I'll show you one of those. You can see how little it is here. It's fairly small, smaller than my pinky nail. Um, once one or two depending on the size of the child, and then this is like a Serenity stick. It just is kind of like a little deodorant stick, and you rub it on the bottom of the feet like 15-20 minutes before bed. I love the Serenity stick. It works really, really well. It tends to help people that wake up a lot sleep better. So, and the combination of the two work really, really well. What even works even better is the Serenity in the diffuser as well. Um, I think we're about out of time. There's so much more, but Laird, are there questions? Um, or have you been answering all the questions on the chat?
I feel like we've been answering a lot of the questions that have come
Okay.
up on the chat, but no one asked really any like specific questions. It was just like,
Okay.
what was that book that she wanted that she
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go over two more things and then we're going to wrap it up. But I feel like it's kind of important to go over these. Turmeric, if you can swallow these, this is really good to take one capsule twice a day. It does bring down inflammation in the brain and in the gut. And then another one is DDR prime. I'm telling you, this is what I do with my kids and myself every single day. DDR prime, one capsule twice a day. So Um, I know we're at our 30-minute time, so if anyone has questions, I'll stay on for another minute or two. But I just wanted to thank you guys for being here. These kids can make progress. So I was told to institutionalize my son because he was so violent, um, and had such severe behavior issues. He does not have behavior issues anymore. I see one of his teacher's aides on here, his aunt is on here, and they can attest that he has come such a long ways that most people would never recognize him from being. And when I say a terrible 2-year old, it doesn't even begin to describe where he was. And he wasn't a terrible kid, he just had horrific behaviors. So I walked around and it was not unheard of to be given a shelter card and be told to go to a shelter because I was so black and blue. Compared to now, he is so loving and so kind and so sweet. Um, not better from autism. He's still severely autistic, still has a lot of issues and a long way to go. I think he can still make a lot of progress, but a lot of these kids, I think, can make a tremendous amount of progress given if we put the right things in the body and take the wrong things back out of the body. So, that being said, any question at all that I can answer here? Let's see here. No. Okay. I think that was it then. So, did anyone here come off of the a Facebook page? Or does everyone know who invited them here? Because if you need some essential oils, please do not go buy them off of Amazon. Because I get all the time, oh, that uh, it didn't work, and it's because someone emptied the bottle and then sold you something fake. So, um, if you're not already enrolled with doTERRA, find the person that invited you because they can help you get a free diffuser. They can help you get the best deal on whatever it is that you're wanting to purchase and that kind of stuff. So, go back to whoever invited you, ask them what deals doTERRA has going on this month. I think that's it.